I was trying to type in YouTube on uh my fucking quick start menu, and it brought me to Young Men. I'm on some sort of fucking FBI
That's
watch list now,
that's
son.
because you searched that too
I
much.
searched Young Men too
What are
much.
the young men doing?
Without any further interruption, it is the long-awaited Jacket Off Podcast, episode 40. We are having a midlife crisis, and I couldn't be happier. Much has occurred that we need to discuss post haste.
You always say that. Yeah, we sit around and stare at each other for at least 2
No,
minutes.
no,
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 not
no.
for this one, friend. We know that much has occurred, unlike some of the other episodes where I've said much has occurred and then I just end up talking about nothing for an hour and a half. And speaking of, this particular podcast does have a hard cutoff because I do have to bring my downstairs neighbor to her job.
Oh,
So that's going to be at the 3 o'clock hour. So we got some time,
so
but we got
you
to.
only have an hour and 45 minutes to rant.
That's
so
right,
I will
but look,
sit
that's all
back
we're gonna
and let
need.
you go.
That's all we're gonna need. Trust me.
Pedal to the metal, Pickard.
Fully hydrated. I'm drinking that rocket pop, and we're about to blast off. So, I have finally returned to the working world after a long hiatus in which I had to decide how to do a honeymoon, which incidentally turned out very badly. Of course, as on previous podcasts, I have mentioned that I was going to travel to initially Charleston, and then that got punched in the face by a hurricane. And then the second place that I wanted to travel, it was my backup plan. Plan B was Sedona, Arizona, and Las Vegas, in which case it got hit by a hurricane in the first time in 9 years. If this phrase sounds strange to you, you're not. Your ears are not deceiving you. There was flash flooding in Arizona, so that's what was happening. So, after these two colossal failures, really, it wasn't even failures; it was just global warming.
Yeah, well, that's not real, so don't.
It's not real, but at the
We
same
know
time,
it's not real.
But it's up for debate.
No, it was just a little
It's
rainy.
not up for debate. It's just a little rainy. Relax in the desert. It
Relax.
rains all the time.
That's what
It
they.
rains all the time in
That's
the
what.
desert.
This is the oasis. It's just a little rain.
That's what they want you to think. Oasis, good band.
Eh,
Eh,
good songs.
good songs. Not so great of guys. So, what happened? Well, looked at the weather forecast the day after the wedding for Sedona, found out that it was Hurricane Maria or Mary or some shit like that.
Ooh, it had a name.
That was slap. Oh no, Dylan, this wasn't just a fucking tropical sprinkle. This was a storm. This was a hurricane that was touching down in Baja California and then traveling over much of Arizona. So I looked at the forecast. I was willing to risk it at least initially.
Yeah.
I was going to say to myself, all right, let's have a grand adventure. Let's figure it out. But then as we
How
went
much
forward,
can it
I was
flood? It never rains there.
well, here's the thing. It actually makes it flood worse because when ground is completely dry
Oh, I guess,
for
yeah,
years,
it's like concrete at that
it
point.
does not have pores. It does not have the ability to soak in any water, especially in a downpour that would deposit 2 to 3 inches on the ground. Which, if 2 to 3 inches of rain comes on the ground in New York, That's it's going to sprinkle today. We'll probably be able to go to the beach later.
It goes in the
That's 2 to
sewers
3 inches
also.
of rain. That shit just falls into the soil and the sewers.
Do they
Whatever.
even have sewers out there?
Yes, they do. They
Oh,
have
okay.
to in that case, but they only exist in major metropolitan areas.
Sure,
And
sure, sure.
incidentally, we were staying in Sedona itself is not a major metropolitan
In the
area. It
bottom
is
of
a
a hill.
completely fucking like 5 minutes to a trailhead that's going to lead you to like Red Rocks. Like that's where you are. So the 2 to 3 inches of rain that's going to be deposited over the Arizona area also brought with it, in addition to the flash flooding, brought with it 55 to 60 degree temperatures for the entire week that we had planned to be there.
That's good temperature though.
But here's the
That's like
problem.
that's like what's out right now, and I'm liking that.
So here's the thing.
Pop the hoodie on, dude.
I don't give a fuck about the temperature. I give a fuck about me driving from Las Vegas to Arizona, having to drive through flash floods, possibly. Even if flash floods don't even hit Sedona, then I get there and it's the same temperature as I just left in New York. Now, I did a little weather chasing. At the last minute, I was like, there's got to be a way that I could have at least 1 to 2 days where the sun is going to hit my face for a second and I don't have to fucking bundle up like Nanook in the middle of the desert. So I was looking around and I was like, all right, it looks like New York, a little bit south, is going to be fine. That they're going to be in the 70s and 80s in the city. I was like, yeah, but we've been to the city a million fucking times. I was like, all right, let's look a little bit more south. Let's look at fucking Ocean City, Maryland, Atlantic City, shit like that. I was like, Atlantic City's fucking gross. Let's try a city that we've never tried before. Been to Boston, that's still going to be cold. Fuck that. So I was like, all right, the only thing I can think of is Philadelphia. Never been to Philly. And while it is not going to be the conventional honeymoon, let's give it a shot. So I cancel everything, lose hundreds of dollars. I said, well, let's use them remaining Marriott points and let's get a nice fancy hotel in downtown Philadelphia. So that's what we did. I had the Residence Inn and Suites, Center City, Philadelphia, across from City Hall. You couldn't be more in the heart of the action.
I couldn't believe you
Go
wanted
ahead.
to actually drive into Philadelphia.
So here's where it actually, I'll explain that to you. Actually, not bad. I've had worse experiences driving into New York than I have driving into Philadelphia. And it's a very similar way of getting into it.
Just got lucky then.
Well,
The one time I went down there, it took me 1 hour to drive 1 mile.
Well, I mean, it depends on where you go.
To Philadelphia.
But what I'm saying is that the way that they have it structured is the different exits that you're hitting when you're on the main highway to get into either the center of Philadelphia or in because Philadelphia is a city of neighborhoods. It's not a city of like
Yeah, I can't remember
borough.
where I went to.
There were areas that we noticed when we were walking around where it was fucking deadlock on like side roads and shit because it was just high congestion. The only
It was
part
even getting right into it with the 18-lane highway that you got to drive onto. Did you go onto that bad boy?
I was on like a 5 or 6 or somewhere to get
yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
That still really wasn't even that bad.
Okay,
and I
so
think
you just got lucky when you went in. I must have got there at the wrong time because that was like from the exit to get onto that 6-lane highway was like I was bumper to bumper traffic.
I mean, we left at around 9 o'clock in the morning, and it took us about probably the better part of 4 hours and 45 minutes, right around in there, or maybe even it was probably flattened out at 5. It probably took us 5 hours to get there. It was way shorter of a fucking time to get back. but the drive in was relatively smooth. Once I got to Center City itself, that's when it was absolutely terrifying, because you got into the place that we were in, the hotel that we were in was so fucking weird where it was. It was two Marriotts inside of one building facing away from each other on one, and it was all squares. You were driving around, literally, this is where the idea of the square comes from. Like Center City, City Hall Square, and you're just driving around in circles. And when we got in, we didn't even know like what it looked like, what the hotel looked like, what any of it looked like. So when I came down and got myself into like the traffic square, it was like 3 lanes wide. I'm in the center of it. I got cars like fucking 1 inch from me on either side. And then I'm looking over to the right and it says Marriott. So I'm like, okay, cool. Fuck, this is it. So there's like a valet thing that's like,
I was going to say, there's probably
super
nowhere
short,
to park there.
3 stalls deep. I was like, okay. So I forced my fucking way. It was like getting out of SPAC. When you got in there, it was like getting out of SPAC. That was how it felt. You were just making small movements that could dent your car at any moment. We got into the valet. I got out. I gave him my keys. I went into the hotel, and we got our keys. She said, okay, I just want to let you know what's going on. The valet, he's going to take your car down to the parking garage. If you need to retrieve anything from it, it takes about half hour for him to get it back out. I'm like, all right, let me grab some shit from that immediately then, because I ain't waiting no fucking half hour to get anything out of it.
Jesus Christ.
So I went quickly back out and grabbed the rest of our shit. And then she goes, so, and here's where I was like, wow. She goes, the fee daily for parking is $55 a day. And I was like, so one night at this hotel is the equivalent of parking it for 3 nights. So I'm basically paying for an additional night. I mean, maybe plus or minus maybe $40. So swallowed that, put that on the old credit card.
Damn.
It's not like we didn't have money. We had fucking money to do this.
You'd think they would, like a lot of times, if you're staying at the hotel and there's not parking there, it's free parking. Like, that's just something they incorporate in the cost of the...
Right. Well, look, the cost of the hotel was exorbitant. I think it was $280 a night. The only reason why I could afford it was because I did
baby.
I did. Well, I didn't get it all free. I did a points and cash combo to reduce the price of the hotel room down to like $160 a night, which for where we were was insane. Like, if you're looking at, we were on the, I think we're on the 11th floor. When you looked out your window, you were literally looking at Philadelphia City Hall. Like, there it is.
The stairs?
The fucking, no,
stairs?
that's at the museum.
Oh.
We'll get to that. I'll take you down the city streets now, real quick. We were near the Reading Street Market, which was one of the coolest fucking places I've ever seen ever. It's inside of a train station, and it was right around the corner from our hotel. So you come out. Now, here's what I want to tell you about Philadelphia.
It's in Pennsylvania.
It's dirty as fuck.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's really dirty.
I've been there a couple times.
Well, there are really redeeming qualities about it. And I can tell you that because...
The murder.
Yep. We didn't go to West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground where I spent most of my days. But we went to some of the cooler neighborhoods in Philadelphia. Literally, when we came out of our hotel room some mornings, we would go down to the corner to go to the market. We were going there for breakfast most mornings because I was there to fucking vacation, not eat the fucking stupid-ass continental breakfast in the hotel. So fuck...
Come on, the bagels, dude.
Fuck those bagels. I'm gonna go get a fucking bagel sandwich that's like the most beautiful greasy ass bagel sandwich, cooked on a flat top right in front of my face. So that's what we did most mornings. So we went down there and we get to the corner, and there was a couple instances where, and this comes as no surprise, you were worried that somebody was overdosing on the sidewalk. Like, there were a couple where it was like, yeah, the guy's clearly just laying down and sleeping there. I don't know why there weren't like better areas for him to go. Whatever, that's your decision. But then some of them called into question their alive or dead status. So I was like, okay, that's that. So here's what I came to realize. We walked an average every single day of around 6.5 miles. Around 17,000 steps a day. So that's what you do like when you work every day.
Yeah.
Right around there.
Yeah.
Dylan steps like, probably 1,500, 1,600 miles a day. So anyway, but for me, what you're looking at me doing right now, other than the talking, is what I do at work.
Usually it's talking to yourself, though.
Right.
I fucking hate this place. I'm gonna take these fucking.
Tell me about one more birthday lunch and I gotta fucking sign up for it. See what happens. See what happens.
Headphones. I'm gonna wrap it around my neck and I'm just gonna start fucking pulling. I'm gonna pull it to the bottom of my chair, the wheels on my chair.
Look, I'm on the second floor at work. So that's all you need there. They gotta put them nets on the outside of my office like they put in Japan, so people when they jump out the window can kill them.
Just in case you try to jump out and sprain your wrist out of your first floor fucking balcony.
So, so what that means is that we walked. I think somewhere near 17 miles total over the few days that we were there, and we fucking went everywhere. The coolest place to go, and this is just Brent's travel log for you. This is the key tip of where you want to go in Philadelphia.
Who's the guy that does the travel books?
Rick Steves?
No, I don't remember.
Rand McNally?
No,
that's the Atlas guy. Rick Steves does those, and then there's another guy. Anyway. Old City, Philadelphia is the coolest city. For a young person of 21 to 30, this is where you are going to want to be. It has the best restaurants. It has the best beer. It has the best galleries. It has the best nightlife. It has the best everything. To give you an idea, an apartment there for a single one-bedroom apartment in one of the newer developments in Old City or near it is $1,500 a month. That gives you an idea of how valued this area is to the people that are wanting to live there. So we went out there and experienced all the hipsters. And the hipsters, god damn it, Dylan, they know how to do it. They really do. Look, we've talked, I think, at length about the idea of how I feel about hipsters and how I think that the general consensus about hipsters is completely wrong. Like the way that the cynicism that surrounds the people of my age that are setting up and gentrifying certain areas of cities. Because we went to the gritty places, we went to the market, we walked through some fucking craziness, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that fucking city, that neighborhood goes above and beyond.
Is that the neighborhood where the two competing Philly cheesesteak places are?
That's in I think it's more south.
Because that neighborhood is very it's like the same idea almost to what you're talking about. Look at the fucking flowers on the electrical boxes on the, it looks like Rochester basically.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, that's not necessarily what I think. There was a key difference between Old City and the rest of the Philadelphia, which was that once you left the two major metropolitan areas, you started to get into the Sohos and the Williamsburgs, like to draw the parallel in New York, like, but they were even much more different than what Williamsburg is. It seems a little bit more spread out. It's got a lot of like, it just felt there's just something intangible about the whole thing. Plus, we were there on First Friday in Old City, which was started by the art galleries. And basically what happens is the first Friday of every single month, the art galleries stay open super late and they do shows that are opening up that month, and they hand out food, booze, a bunch of shit. What totally turned me on to this whole thing was the first place we went, which wasn't even a gallery. It was a an REI, or like an outdoor, like not Dick's Sporting Goods. What's that one? What's like that outdoor fucking shop? That's
Bass Pro Shop?
Yeah, kinda, but it's real hipstery. Like, you're going in there to get like, no fucking A, Herb Phillipson's. Yeah.
Old Herb?
Okay. All right.
It's
All
your
right.
boy Herbie?
I'll try to explain it to you. Herb Phillipson's combined with Starbucks, combined with a family-owned bookstore.
That's kind of Bass Pro. You ever been in a Bass Pro Shop?
But Bass Pro Shop is fucking gigantic.
Yeah.
It's like, so is Cabela's, like all those places. This place is small. You're gonna find $350 pairs of fucking boots, and you're gonna find a little coffee shop.
Is it like a chain type thing, or
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay, so I might never even heard of it. I might never.
I think it's United by Blue. Is the name of it? United by Blue.
Isn't that an airport?
You know what it's also like, Dylan? Have you ever heard of the Life is Good franchise? The Life is Good stores?
Yeah.
You ever seen those
with
before?
The stick figure?
Yes.
He likes to golf.
It's very much like he loves golfing. He loves all outdoor sports, Dylan. He's the Life is Good stick figure. Life is good, dude.
He's the he's the wholeheartedness to the big dog.
Mm-hmm.
Big dog.
Big dog. So anyway, we went in. That was the first store that we went in because I saw that I was looking for coffee. I was like, I'm fucking dragging. I need a goddamn cup of coffee. So that was the first place we found. We walk in the front of it, and the most beautiful woman in the world was at the front desk, and she's like, "Oh, so hi guys, it's First Friday." And I was like, "Does she say this to everybody? Like, does she could probably tell I'm a fucking tourist or something? Must be." Hi guys, First Friday.
In the back, your fucking mouth open, going, "Oh,
I'm home."
Becky, they saw fishing poles here. Life is good.
Hang loose, bod. We walk in and she's like,
"Don't sip the coffee too early, bod. It's pretty warm."
She's like, "There's Narragansett in the back, and we're gonna have music here in about another 10 minutes, so you guys can hang out if you want." So we look at like some of the items and just, all the shit that they have there, and then we go to the back, and then this cute little indie princess girl is setting up on her acoustic guitar, and we go over. They have, and this is where I think I might have hit you up on Hangouts. I said, this place has regular water and sparkling water on tap. That gives you an idea. I've literally never seen a place in my life where I could go over in front of the like it's next to the coffee shop part. You go over, you grab a fucking glass. They're just stacked up. You grab a glass and you can pump sparkling water into your fucking glass. And then she said there's Narragansett in the back. So I was like, the beer? We go back there and there's a big galvanized steel bucket with 2 different types of Narragansett beer on ice. Becky and I walk up to it, and then another couple walks up to it. And that couple looks at us like rather incredulously, as I'm sure we're looking. And they're like, "Is this free?" And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the lead on this. So I grabbed the beer out of it and opened it. Nobody said anything. I sat down. Me and Becky sat down with our beers. And a little girl started to play fucking music. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck is happening right now. I'm in the
Question?
Twilight Zone. Yeah, excuse me. Um, I just
Question.
drank 5 of these beers. Was I supposed to do that?
I had one beer.
They
One of
said it was
these
first.
one of these beers. I definitely didn't drink 5.
They said it was first Friday, so I wanted to be the first one to get the beer. So,
Wait, what time is it at this point? Because in my
I think
mind
it
it's
was
10 a.m.
yeah, that would be a very good assumption. I think it was 4:30 or
Okay.
something around that
Okay,
line.
because you started
We
talking
were
about going out for breakfast, and then all of a sudden you knocked into the story about.
I'm
And
just kind of trying to. I don't want to fill in the gaps with just
yeah, it's
bullshit.
not
I
like a
just
full
want to like.
walkthrough. Yeah, no, I realize that, but like at some point it went from breakfast to okay, so I'm in this back of this Bass Pro Shop, and there's free
Drinking beer.
beers.
So, we we watched the little performance there for a little while. Here's the reason why we're down there. I have a reservation at this restaurant that's underneath the Benjamin Franklin Bridge in an old water pumping station. They used to supply the water over there.
You love your goddamn water pumping stations,
I
don't you?
fucking love shit where I'm eating inside of a thing that's totally not supposed to be for that. It's like
A bunch of little
I'm
kids died here. God, I
yes.
love child labor laws.
A bunch of strapping young men in really high-waisted pants.
Young men.
We're fucking young men. I was just trying to search for YouTube. So, we had a reservation, but it was late as fuck. It was like 8:30 because this place is like so bumping that you can't even get in. Like
That's
I was
a
looking
good
on
dinner
open.
time though. 8:30.
Well, the thing is when you're doing, we found that over the 3 or however many fucking 4 days we were there, dinner time was getting later and fucking later because we were doing shit. We were fucking going 100% for 9 hours a fucking day. And then like you just weren't thinking. I was eating everything in sight and I did not gain a fucking pound. I burnt 900 calories a day. Like I was looking at the fucking things at the end of the day and I was like, I felt better after leaving than I did when I got there. Like normally you go on vacation, if you go to like a fucking all-inclusive thing, you're just stuffing your fat face full of fucking faux ethnic cuisine and
Twinkies and daiquiris.
Yeah, Twinkies and daiquiris all fucking day. Your shit's turned like a shade of periwinkle.
Waiter, the next time, can you just put the Twinkie into the daiquiri? Thank you, waiter.
If you're blending it up, just throw a couple of fucking devil dogs in there for me.
Yo, strawberry shortcake, a strawberry daiquiri with some Twinkies blended into it. Yeah.
So, speaking of cuisine, that'll sort of lead me into probably the third chapter of the whole thing is what did we eat? Because really that's the most important feature of the whole thing, is it not? So this time around, yes, it is.
Okay.
I'm here to tell you first that what you eat on a trip is the most important thing. There's a couple other things, but whatever. Here we go. Of course, you can't go to Philly without eating the famous cheesesteak. Now, what we chose to do was not go to the two famous dueling cheesesteak emporium and warehouses. Because to me, in my mind, most of the time, I feel like that's like the world's best pizza, Joe's Pizza. Like, yeah, I get it. I completely understand. I'm not trying to be a contrarian with this because obviously where there's smoke, there's fire. I totally get that if I see something that everybody in the world loves, like Franklin Barbecue in Austin, Texas, like the barbecue place where everybody waits at 11 o'clock in the fucking morning for 2 hours to get barbecue and they shut the fucking place down and they make $8 billion. I understand why it's appealing. I understand why the Cronut is appealing in New York. I understand why Voodoo Donuts is appealing. All of those things that we've always heard about, the unicorn bagel, whatever, right? But at the same time, I think that's all hype. I feel like there are places that are doing it behind the scenes and they're doing it way better.
Yeah, but it's almost a landmark to go see. It's
I
like
totally understand that
just
too.
like walking up and seeing the one across, like the one that's kind of just like in the building, like just got a little
Totally.
overhang, and then across the street it's all the neon lights and everything. Just like if you walk up to it at night, it's just a cool thing to see.
It's like
Even
going.
if you didn't get a cheesesteak from either there,
Right.
just to see, just to look at that one landmark.
Um,
Just like you looked at the city hall, like you understand that it's a landmark. You didn't go into city hall, did you, to get a fucking license plate or something?
we did go into a bomb church though. That shit was real. Yeah, churches are scary, especially the real old ones, like the old like I don't
Yeah,
even
it's
know
almost like you
like
can feel the
puritanical.
Catholic girl crushing you as you walk right through
It
the
was,
doors.
oh, Dylan, it's fucking indescribable. The echo in the whole. Oh my god, it was scary. So, anyways, it was like being in like Constantine. Like that's the feeling you get is like that like heaven and hell type of idea that you're
Good
that you're.
movie. Is it?
Um, is it a good movie? I don't know.
I like
So
that movie.
I like it. I love that movie, but so the food, we were in Reading Market one day, the first day we got there. I'm like, you know what? Let's just get the Philly cheesesteak here. I had heard about it that there was a place inside the market that does Philly cheesesteaks that's like that everybody says that local Philadelphia people like better than the rivalry areas. Like this is the one that most people sort of are like, if you want a cheesesteak, go get it from here
Mhm.
because it kind of combines the two of them. So it's not a whiz place. It's an American cheese one. So they're doing the Philly steaks, but they're doing. I mean, you can get them with like anything you want, provolone or the whiz or whatever. But their by default steak is the American cheese one, which I find more appealing. I
Did
don't
you get
really.
it with onions?
They when you order one, that's what it is. It's with onions, American cheese. That's the steak. It was fucking incredible. Oh, the like the grease level, the rolls, it was soaking in. It was all incorporated, caramelized, perfect. I don't know. It was oh my god! It didn't need a single fucking thing. It didn't need a condiment. Crinkle cut fucking French fries, perfectly fucking fried.
That's just the problem when you talk about what's the better cheesesteak. It's a Philly cheesesteak's gonna be a good Philly cheesesteak no matter what.
That's what I'm saying about the best pizza in town, Dylan. How the fuck is that quantifiable? There's millions of different types of pizza in the world.
It's quantifiable there because it's a Philly cheesesteak.
Right, I understand
There's a reason
that.
there's a reason it's called a Philly cheesesteak.
But look, I've in my day,
it's just like going to the first place that made pizza. It's just like
right.
this is where the pizza was born. So I'm getting a pizza from where the pizza was born. This is where the Philly cheesesteak was born. So I'm getting a Philly cheesesteak from where it was born. Not like it's gonna taste good if I go down the road and I go up to Nice and Easy and get a Philly cheesesteak. Just that combination of
Things
steak
right.
and cheese. And
It works because it works.
Yes, it works because it
well,
works.
and here's the other thing. Anthony Bourdain, bless you, Poppy. Anthony Bourdain said that perhaps, and this was a very controversial statement for him at the time, he did an episode about Philadelphia, but it also incorporated the surrounding areas. And he said, hold on a second. I'm going to say something to you, and you probably are not going to, most people in this area are not going to agree with it, but quite possibly the best Philly cheesesteak is not in Philadelphia. It is in West Jersey because it shares a border with it. And there's a guy that runs this diner out of Jersey called Donkey Steak. And it is a hole-in-the-wall shithole diner.
Always the best. You don't even got to say no more.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. So there's all different ways of looking at it, but the one we had, unreal. The market had fucking everything that you could ever want. You could get a fucking steaming hot bowl of fucking ramen, and then walk around the corner and get a fucking Indian samosa, and then walk around another corner and get a fucking couple of Maryland style crab cakes. Like you could literally get anything.
I hate
in the
places
place.
like that. Too much to choose from.
Dude, the chaos of the place was anxiety inducing. It was fucking indescribable how much you sort of had to like you right when you got there, you have to immediately adopt whatever it like you can't. Philadelphia is a city of zero hesitation. You've made your bed, now lie in it. That's every decision you make. Where you're gonna go, what you're gonna eat, how you're gonna travel, all of it. Once you do it, you do it. Nobody's got time for you to him and fucking haw about what it is that you are doing. So immediately you just have to be like, I gotta do that. I want this and do it with that. Put whatever on it. I don't care if I made a mistake.
Yeah, sometimes you end up with more food than you want, but you just
buy. Just fucking deal with it. Just do it. You're here on vacation. Just buy it. So there was a lot of that. There was a lot of like, all right, let's we
just get it.
Clean the table off. Just sit down and eat the fucking food, and then chow it and get the fuck out. Now that rule gets fucking amped up to 1,000 at the Chinese institution known as dim sum. So, Chinatown. I've never been to, so I've been to Chinatown in New York, and I've been to a couple smaller Chinatowns here and there. I've been to the one in Boston.
Bootleg Blu-rays of Mission Impossible?
So,
damn. I thought you liked me enough to pick me up something on your honeymoon.
I was looking for you like around places. Like I was like, is Dylan gonna like any of that? I can't figure it out. Like we're going to like fucking art gallery stores and like all this different shit. And I was like, he's not gonna fucking like any of this. So, we were in Chinatown, and what I came to find out was that this Chinatown, I don't know if it was maybe just happening on the night that we happened to go over there, but this Chinatown is like Kurt Russell Chinatown. Like it's the cliche like Rush Hour Chinatown. We were walking down the street and literally a person, 4 people in a dragon thing was doing the wavy fucking dancing around with
like
people playing drums and shit. I was like,
you
holy
walk
fuck.
And like you hear the slap and it was like a fishbone head at your feet.
It was like everything was wet.
Hey, you gotta pay for that.
Everything was wet. I remember that. It was raining. So it even more looked like I was like, I think I stepped into like Ruiner right now. Like I'm looking around me and I was just like, all the signs were super cool, and like this was a Chinatown that to me was like very appealing aesthetically. Like the New York Chinatown is what it is. I've been there a million times, nighttime, daytime, whatever. And you don't really want to be in New York Chinatown at nighttime. This one felt like you could be there. Like you didn't get the sense that like you were in the shit with some Chinatowns. This one was actually really cool. So the dim sum place we went to is in a narrow ass building. Like this building is like smushed in between 2 buildings, and it's like 3 fucking floors. So we go in, and the sheer level of chaos was immense. We go in, we don't know what to do. There's people down eating on the first level, but there's no like place to like get a table. Like there's nobody like standing at a podium. There's just people running around with giant fucking stacks of steam baskets. So I don't know what to do. I look up. I see
just
people
grab a steam basket.
I see people going upstairs, and then I look over, and on the balcony there's like okay, we got to go upstairs. So go upstairs. It's like Three Stooges. There are people going up the stairs, like bumping into you and fucking.
Sorry.
Yeah, and so then you're turned around like sideways at the top of the stairs, and the guy's like 2, and I'm like, yeah, and then he's like, it'll be like 10 minutes. And I was like, oh okay.
It's
and
always 10 minutes.
It's just like home. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, it's fine. My food will probably be ready when I sit down. I got it.
We have no place to stand. We're standing there awkwardly at the top of the stairs next to like a beverage cooler, and we're just kind of there like little sad little puppy dogs trying to figure out like what the fuck is going on. There's a couple tables in front of us. The guy like whacks everything off the fucking table, does a quick fucking towel run, and then he's like, okay, right here. So we go and sit, and we're right in front of the window where everybody is putting up the baskets and cooking and doing all the tickets. I was like, this is the ultimate view. This is the coolest fucking thing ever.
Becky?
Yeah, shut up. I gotta watch this. People are fucking stacking shit up in the window. Like, the window is super narrow. Like, it's a regular kitchen expediting window. And they're just stacking up these steel cylinders, like, just fucking all the way to the top. And I thought, it's not that I thought it was. It's a bring your own beer place. There's a ton, which I didn't know about. There's a ton of places in Philadelphia where it's bring your own beer. That's like a culture there. Like, it's like a thing that people accept. Like, when you look at places on like Yelp and TripAdvisor and Google, when you're searching for like restaurants, there's like a separate category when you search for it that's bring your own beer. Like, you press the BYOB button and it shows you all the restaurants where you can do it. So it turns out this place was, but when we got in there, I was like, what? This seems like there'd be a lot more people that have like bottles on the table and like 6-packs of beer and whatever. There were a few people that did, but I was expecting like everybody to just be drinking like it was the end of the world. Because it's like a big college, there's like a big college scene down there or whatever. That's what the whole BYOB scene is all about anyway, too. We get in, we bought a bottle of sake from a liquor store right down the street because I'm like, if I'm going to dim sum, I'm going to get a big ass bottle of sake and we're going to pour that shit. So I was carrying that in a fucking paper bag, a giant 1.5 liter of Gaikai sake in a paper bag. And we get in there and I set it right next to my chair because I'm still not sure what's going on. I kind of got nervous, and then Becky's looking through the menu. She's like, "Oh shit!" And I was like, "What?" She's like, "It's a $15 corking fee. So if you open up a bottle of booze here, it costs $15 no matter what you do." I was like, "Fuck that! I bought the bottle for $12.50. Like, I'm not gonna pay $15."
I mean, it's still not terrible because
it's not horrible. If you had a big expensive bottle or a lot of bottles, like if you were a big
group, even just your one bottle, if you think about like 15 plus 12, so $27.50, you probably would have spent that on buying drinks there.
So we didn't,
or even more. Like $27 is nothing.
Ultimately, what we did was we were just like, all right, let's order just some crazy drinks, like non-alcoholic, just like Thai teas and fucking shit like that. So that's what we got.
That's probably the better way to go anyways.
It was so good. We drank later back at the hotel, but oh my God, the kinetic energy of everything. We got soup dumplings for the first time. That was the craziest fucking thing in the world. You know what a soup dumpling is?
No.
So what they do is they make dumplings, right? Regular, but they're more round. And they're kind of like purse shaped. They're kind of pinched up at the top to seal them off.
Yeah, and all dumplings are like that, aren't they?
Well, it's the dumplings you're thinking of, the pan fried dumplings. Those ones look like raviolis, like half raviolis. Yeah. These ones are like little bags, almost like corn
I've
purses.
Seen those too. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So what they do is, you know how when you make chicken noodle soup and you put it in the fridge, it makes like a gelatin, on the top, like it's got that. It turns into like a real, or like when you saved like a wonton soup. Yeah, it turns into like a jelly almost.
That oil separates and it gets stuck on top. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. So what they do is they make what's called a consommé, which is basically a soup that's made entirely out of that. So they add gelatin to it. And so you take a chicken stock or a pork stock or whatever you make, whatever version you want to do, and you make it and you spread it out. You basically pour it onto a cookie sheet and then put it in the fridge.
Okay.
This makes what is essentially Jell-O jigglers out of chicken stock. And you cut them into little tiny cubes. You take the dumpling wrapper that you would use to make a normal dumpling. Mm-hmm. You put the meat, like a little chunk of meat in it, some vegetables, and then you put a spoonful of that chicken stock Jello jiggler in it, and then you wrap it all up, and then you refrigerate it again. When you take it out of the fridge for the second time, then you boil them in a stock pot. What happens is the consomme on the inside of the dumpling turns into soup. And when they serve it to you, you basically put the dumpling on a spoon, you bite a corner of it, soup comes out on the spoon, and then you fucking ate the whole thing in one bite. So it's basically like the best wonton soup in the world inside of a dumpling.
Huh.
And it is fucking amazing. I encourage anybody who can find some goddamn dim sum to go out there and at least during your whole thing, get some fucking shumai, like the regular shrimp dumplings, get the fucking soup dumplings, and then just get some other crazy shit that you never tried. But the soup dumplings and the shumai, that's like, it's fucking essential. So we get out of this chaos and we go back to the hotel room. We have some sake, fucking crash for the night. That was a fucking crazy ass day. Oh, not before getting some of that roll up ice cream. You ever see that shit?
No.
On the anti-griddle. So they pour ice cream based on
Cold Stone Creamery?
No. This is way different. It's a Taiwanese street food. What they do is they take what's called an anti-griddle, which is basically a metal like sheet or like a countertop. You can do it on like a cookie sheet too. Dry ice on the bottom, and then they cover it in water and salt so it gets fucking really cold, and then you have that sheet of metal. You mix up ice cream base like what you would normally use to make ice cream, but you pour it out on the sheet pan and start mixing it around. And then this guy is so good at it. He's got these two like sort of scraper spatula things, and he's fucking putting all your items, and it is kind of like that, but it's the end part that makes it different. He's smashing up all the shit that goes into it, right? And then he spreads it all out. So he spreads it super thin with his scraper across the whole griddle and then lets it sit for a second. And you can literally watch it like solidify almost like across the board. And then he takes the scraper and goes on one edge of it, the width of the scraper, and turns them into rolls, ice cream rolls, that then he takes a cup and puts all the ice cream rolls in it and then makes a sundae out of it.
Huh.
So you're basically eating ice cream
Bites?
tube, like spirals, like tall, like almost like rolling up a carpet, and then he sticks them in vertically.
That's
and you get
cool.
like 6 ice cream rolls per thing. And I guess this is it's a chain that does this, but they've adopted it from like I said, a Vietnamese street food.
Dippin' Dots.
It is like the equivalent Vietnamese Dippin' Dots. It really is like.
They stole the Dippin' Dot trade secret from the Six Flags. The great Dippin' Dot heist at Six Flags.
But we got that. We went back to the hotel. It was a hell of a night.
That's a good fiasco campaign.
What?
That's a good fiasco campaign.
What are you talking?
A fiasco, the pen and paper game.
Oh yeah.
Breaking into a Six Flags to steal the trade secrets for Dippin' Dots.
The great Dippin' Dots caper. Okay. So overall, what do I want to say? Well, we went to the Philadelphia Zoo. It's a really good zoo. It's kind of poorly laid out.
But you saw penguins, you told me.
We definitely saw the penguins. They actually had a cool way of doing the penguins.
Cool.
Which was
I got it.
It was a double decker. They got them in the tank, but they also have like you can kind of see them from all sides. You can go above, below,
okay,
sort of everywhere around, and that was a really fucking awesome way to see the penguins. And then also like the big cats. We got to see way more of the big cats than I've ever seen at any zoo that I've ever been to ever. Like in all even in times in high school and in fucking elementary school, I've never ever seen all of the big cats out at one time. So that was really fucking advantageous. Like we saw lion, fucking cheetahs, Bengal tiger, Siberian tiger, fucking um ocelots. I mean, you fucking every single fucking one of them. None of them were hiding.
Big cats.
Big cats, dude. That was the best part. And the bear was pretty fucking crazy too. They had a giant ass grizzly bear there. Holy fuck. It's huge.
Murder
Yeah, a white
machines.
rhino there too. Huh?
White rhino. You did a little white rhino while you were there.
Yeah, dude.
Toked up on the white rhino.
That's why I saw all these illusions, like going to a dim sum restaurant and getting ice cream rolled up in tubes. What a wonderful world.
You're really just sleeping in your pop-up camper out front.
Exactly. We're going to Chicago. We're going to fucking Philadelphia, dude.
Is it too early to get a divorce?
I was making fun of that the whole time because I was just like, at certain parts in this trip, as good as it was, like we had a great time, there were times where I was fucking miserable. I was just like, is this really how our honeymoon is going to be? I was going to Target because I gotta fucking buy insoles because I've compressed the insoles of my shoes so hard that I feel like my toe is gonna break through the front because we walked for 27 fucking miles. Like, god damn it. All I wanted to do was go to fucking Charleston and lay on the beach one day and eat an expensive barbecue dinner. Like, that's all I was looking for, Dylan. And all I wanted to do after that was go to Sedona and wander out into the desert and die. That's all I was looking for.
Oh.
But overall, we made the best out of that situation. Now, let me Tarantino it for you for a second. The wedding. Oh, the wedding. So many behind the scenes flubs, bloopers, and fuck ups that if anybody didn't notice them, we had the greatest wedding ever.
There was a wedding?
I don't remember it particularly, but I'll try to recount as much of it as I possibly can. Number one, somebody dropped our fucking cake. And I did not tell you that. Our cake got fucking dumped hard.
Who dropped it?
Well, that's the delicate conundrum of the whole thing. Becky went back into work, and I haven't even talked to her about it yet. But Becky's coworker was the one that made the cake.
Okay.
Right? And she brought it in early, like, but probably around like 3:00 or whatever, or 2 or 3:00. When we were doing the ceremony, she was the one that was bringing in the cake over to the location. And we found out that they dropped I found out that they dropped the cake right after you and I had that first technical difficulty where the bit rate dropped out.
Oh, okay.
Remember when the bit rate dropped out?
Yeah.
I think it was either just before or just after that where I found out. So it was relatively late in the evening. We hadn't done the cake cutting yet.
It was just before the cake cutting.
So that it was right around at that point.
Yeah.
I went up to Becky and she was like, yeah, and it was no more than this. This is exactly the tone. She's like, yeah, they dropped the cake. And that was it. And I was like, oh, I had gotten to a point of such indifference about everything that, like, somebody could have gotten run over by a bus in front of the wedding, and I would have been like, oh shit, that's pretty fucked up. All right, Dylan, what are we gonna play next? Like that's the level of indifference that I was experiencing at that point after everything that we had that we went through. So that went on, and then
did you have the cake? There was a cake there, though.
There was. So here's where the mystery of the whole thing is, right? Here's what we don't know. And Becky's mom was the one that was sort of like, that seems weird. The Sinclair said that Yvonne dropped the cake, which was our cake decorator.
Okay.
be honest with you, I really don't care who dropped the cake. Like that type of shit happens like
Yeah,
literally
we've all
it
seen Cake
happens
Boss.
fucking constantly. Oh yeah, you've watched Cake Boss, you've seen shows. They drop the cake, right? Okay, whatever. Um but what seemed weird was that uh we don't know the timeline, but it just seems like there was a little bit of foul play involved. Like they were trying to it feels like they did it, but they were trying to like blame it because I felt like they would have told us earlier if the cake came in and was dropped, but well before we even got to the reception at all, in order to prepare for what we had to do. I would have felt that we would have somebody would have said something to us, but but Becky told me like what 20 minutes before we cut it, and it was in the time where they had to bring it out. I feel like they dumped it, but look, that shit happens. But that's just weird to me. Just tell me when we were bringing it out, we dumped it. We're sorry. It's like so nobody saw that. Nobody was made aware of that. That's what happens at weddings. Nobody knows. And that's the thing that I would love that I want to tell people. I told everybody at my work, like, look, if you're and there's a couple people getting married at my job. I'm like, what you gotta understand now, and you won't get it. You're not gonna understand it until it happens. But for God's sakes, if shit like that goes down, short of somebody dying at your wedding, it is completely unnoticeable. It, we wouldn't have we if we didn't cut a cake, everybody still thought that was the best wedding ever. Like, oh, awesome wedding. Like nobody gave a fuck, especially if you do it late after everybody's drunk. Nobody cares. So that's the most important feature. And by the end, here's all I was concerned about. Did the bar have enough money to get everybody alcohol? Did the food come out so that people could eat it? That's all I give a fuck about. Did the music stay on long enough for people to dance? Was it loud enough for people to get into it? It's really the most important things. Food, booze, music. That's all the wedding really is. And then the ceremony itself is really just a
that's a
function.
whole separate thing.
I mean, that the difficulty with that was really just the same difficulty that you experience when you're trying to do anything with a large group of people. You can't fucking get a herd of cattle like that to fucking do anything. They're just gonna stand around looking at each other like a bunch of fucking guppies. They're just gonna be like, what? Like that's all that's gonna happen until somebody's like, okay, here's what's gonna happen. Like that's all that somebody has to step up and do that. It's the only advice I could give. Somebody step up and do something. Ignore everything if nobody's on fire, and fucking clean up. I mean that's what a wedding is. And fucking do it your way. Oh my God. I can't. That's the thing. Just fucking do it the way you want to do it. Because if you let people fucking compromise everything that you do at every turn, you might as well be working. You might as well be working at your office, at your job, at whatever you do. Because what you basically done is turn your 8-hour a day job into a fucking 16-hour a day job. Because the rest of your time is spent doing the same shit that you do at work. Compromising because somebody said that that's going to be hard to do, or compromising because somebody said that's going to be too much money, or compromising because somebody said not everybody's going to like that. Don't go for the lowest common denominator. Go for the things that are important to you. I don't give a fuck about napkins. I don't give a fuck about tablecloths. Like, who ever left a fucking wedding and was like, yeah, you know what? They could have got 10 out of 10 if they just would have had those ivory tablecloths that they had at the fucking Johansson's wedding that I went to.
That's what I was thinking the whole time.
That shit fucking sent that over the top. Like, yo, tightest wedding ever, dude, was when they got those emerald green fucking napkin rings, son. Oh, who gives a fuck? The people that we thought were going to be the least receptive to this type of wedding which again is this free form party time experience, were the most fucking ecstatic about it. The people from either side of my family that I would have thought would have been like, oh, well, it hardly measures up to, we're like, that was fucking awesome. So if you learn anything, your wedding doesn't have to be $250,000 fucking dollars just because there's going to be people in there who are like, oh, well, why don't they have a sushi station or a Mediterranean snack bar? Nobody gives a fuck. They just want to eat macaroni and cheese and fucking drink craft beer, and the next morning take a big runny dump and then forget about the whole thing. I mean, that's all you can hope. And then you got to play shout, and that's about it. Everything else is cake.
Did we play shout?
Yes, we did.
Oh, yeah, we did. Okay.
We sure did. A little bit softer now. And a little bit softer
okay,
now,
I remember now.
And a little bit softer now.
I remember now.
You play some of the standards. People are going to do requests. You're going to ignore them. Nobody's going to give a fuck. And then you roll on.
I didn't even ignore them. The request to my bread and butter. I'm just like, you got it. It's coming up next.
Whatever, we got it. It's happening. See, I float a little bit. I float about 50% on your side of it on the party and weddings. I go into like, I got to evaluate what you've said to me in order to make sure that the group is going to.
I did evaluate it. It's
Yeah,
not
you
like
have to
it's not like
evaluate.
I was getting like Beethoven Sonata and goddamn
Cocaine by Eric Clapton.
Oh, you know that would have came on.
And then I filter it out when cocaine comes in. When you run up and down and you wanna run on cocaine, and everybody sings it. Cocaine. Right into I do coke. But to sort of illuminate all of that, we got a million comments from people saying this is the best wedding that I've ever been to. And this is older people. This is like our friends, like, and no question about it. I've DJ'd weddings. I've done lots of different things. This was easily, even with the failures, and really failures is a weird word because again, it's just all about perception. Like, is easily the most, like, it was the smoothest thing that where the both of us teaming up on it and you curating what it is that we needed to do, and then my occasional interjection, and then me just taking what you're doing and just adding in the component. It's basically like filling in the gaps. Like the gap, like to be one DJ, like a really good party wedding type of guy. There's the element of the showman MC type of thing, like that thing where you don't think something like that serves a purpose of like getting over a microphone and saying something to the crowd and creating these like ebbs and flows and things. But that part of it is super important. And then for you, so basically you put it on autopilot, not autopilot in the technical sense. You put it on autopilot of like, the songs are the songs. You and I know them both, know what songs are coming on. We understand the mechanics of all of them and where certain parts are in the songs. Then I have to then play with the crowd, come back, leave some space. You know what I mean? So there's this thing going on, this up and down. I don't think it could have gone better in terms of how all that worked. And we didn't even do a slow song, like a set of slow songs until the end. One thing that Becky was saying, like, as we went into it was, you guys are going to have to remember to play like the ballads or whatever so that people do the slow dancing. I do not think anybody gave a shit. There was a couple in there. There was a couple in there, but not normally. Like when I've gone to them before, they typically do like 3 fast and then 1 slow, like one out of 4 normally, like kind of right around in there. We were doing like most of them dance, like we were doing 5 or 6, and then a slow. Like, and that to me though, for a short wedding, like a wedding that only goes like as far as a reception is concerned for only like 4 or 5 hours, I feel like that's what people want. I don't feel like people really want, like, if they're going to go hard and you kind of get the sense from them that they're going to do that, you don't want to break it as much as you would any other one. You don't want to break it with as many like slow tunes. That's just what it felt like. And I felt like we did that unconsciously. We sort of like, we were just, you were going through it and you were like, it's dance time. Everybody's doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. And it just crescendoed until nobody could handle it anymore. Like in the time, and like, I think the beauty of it is that the curation part is cool because Justin will come up and be like, I want Bangarang, I want Skrillex. And I'm like, okay, we can do it, but we have to wait. That's a very you have to calculate.
Yeah.
And you got to make him hold on, and you got to make Brian, like all of the guys that are going to be like pushing everything forward, you got to make them hold on, because it's just like a concert. You're making them certain people hold on for the thing that they want. You can give certain people that come out and like, oh, play fucking Daddy Yankee. Okay, we can do that right now because that's like just a normal like reggaeton bumper and grinder. But with everything else, like anything like, you know, when we did Bangarang, when we did Slushy, when we did, you know, we're starting to head into like dubstep and heavy house and EDM, but like the EDM classics. Like I think that was the key. Yeah. EDM classics that work, like for everybody. Don't You Worry Child, Bangarang, I Still Recall. Closer. Like those are
Closer.
Yes, right. And that version of it even more specifically, because the times where you because most DJs' inclination is like sometimes in these cases is like, I'm a serious DJ, I'm gonna do remixes of everything. That's not where you gotta be. Like, look, if you're up in the club, yeah, do your 128 through the whole thing and finish out your set. Like that's your whole thing. You remix everything into it. But
they want to hear the lyrics the way that they know the lyrics.
There are some songs where they need to hear that. But also at the same time, though, there are some remixes that even more emphasize the idea of singing along with it. Like that just comes from some and creating more drama in a song. Like Closer is perfect, because the normal Closer is like but if you're going like that type of thing in that song that everybody's super familiar with, gives them that like, yeah, it's like the little electricity in a little bit. And speaking of electricity, we played that too.
You got
that was perfect. I mean, again, these piano heavy house hits, like this resurgence of the 90s house, like, wow, people are out there doing it better than they did it before. Like the Keezas and like this in the Silk Cities, like they're doing it in a way that the technology allows them to do it, and like the polish on everything is disgusting.
You heard One Kiss with her and Calvin Harris, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like everything about those songs, like those deep, like super crisp house bass, you know, samples or patches, and like I said, that very distinct piano, like that's what creates it. Like those amazing pianos.
Yeah.
But Diplo just came out with his Diplo. I was just seeing it today because I was reinstalling Machine on my desktop. Diplo came out with Diplo Drops, which was
sound stuff. It's
yeah.
it's the Native Instruments version of Splice, basically.
Yeah. I was looking and I gotta see. I really want that Neon Drive.
It's pretty good.
Is it?
Yeah.
I liked all this. Like I went through a lot of them, and when I got to that one, I was just like, that's really the direction of like what That's sort of like what I like right now.
So I have a ton of them because when I bought my machine, like I bought it when they were giving away, I think 6 packs. So I have like platinum bounce and
yeah.
like dark pressure and all those. Like I have like 6 of them or something. And then I ended up buying Neon Drive because I had one of the $25 coupon things.
That's what I was gonna
Because
use.
I have a fucking 100 Native Instrument products.
Yeah,
That like they all came with one.
I um I was when I was listening to the Gunship record the other day on the way home. Um, that
Oh,
the
just one more thing about the wedding. The only thing I
yes.
regret, I played Lady off of Styx 2 instead of Lady 95, which is the better version off the Greatest Hits album. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a real shame. I still think about it.
Still think about it to this day.
Lady
Um,
95 is the better version.
it is. It is the better version. It's just sounds
It's
like
cleaner.
bigger. It's got bigness to
Yeah,
it,
the
and right,
piano's
it is
way
cleaner.
cleaner.
Oh yeah. Um. So, what the hell was I saying? Oh, I was listening to Gunship, and like sometimes like when you're struggling to think of like because I'll sit around and I'll start just like drumming out stuff on machine. I'll just be creating like little half patterns and some like little bass leads, just little bass things and whatever. I'll just be doing stuff and like the sometimes you're making something and you listen to something that you've never listened to before, and then you realize that somebody has already gone in the same direction that you would want to go, but you didn't know that. Somebody sort of answers your question about what should this sound like, or what do I want this to sound like, or what could it sound like. And that was the like, at least I didn't get all the way through the record, but the beginning parts of that record like sound so much like what, like if I think about all of the components, like I thought about, okay, like they're laying down like big gated reverb drums that are like dubstep style, right? They're doing the slow dark wave type of stuff. It's not the Carpenter Brute, the like every song is that like super driving thing. They're doing the like that's the beat for everything, and then they're sort of using that as a way of doing those super slow arps, like the do 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 do, like the halftime stuff. It gives you that like locomotive type of thing going on with everything that they do, and like I that appeals to me better because it's like they've combined like the rhythm of like dubstep, and then they've done this like again the dark synth sort of things over it, very like clean retro basses and stuff like that. And then I think about the vocals, and then the vocals I was like, this matches perfectly. Like you'd almost think they could do a wicked sweet version of like Sunglasses at Night, and then just take pluck Corey Hart out of obscurity, get his ass on a Gunship cover of fucking Possibly Death, get his ass onto a fucking that Gunship track. How fucking cool would that be? Like a wicked slow, like you could slow it down like a little bit where it'd be like dun 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 dun, like ugh, gross. That my point on it is I just like sometimes you just get an answer sometimes where you're like, I don't want to copy this in any way, but like you feel like you're listening to something and you're like, if I could even make something, if I could sit here and I could fully realize something instead of just fucking noodling around, this is the idea, because the vocals are accessible. It's a guy vocalist, but at the same time, it has that like
a lot of
super melancholic.
A lot of songs have girl vocals on them too.
Well, yeah, the obviously, what's her name on
like Arizona or some shit.
Arizona, yeah, I think that's what it is. She's
But
on there,
there's
and
more
then
than
there's also a lady in Gunship, I think, who does stuff. I know it's two guys, but then I think there's also like a lady that is more of like I can't remember.
like
I was looking them up on
the
Wikipedia a
one
while ago.
like the one person that they get when they want a
I
female
think that's what
vocalist.
it is, but I don't quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure that when I was reading
Don't
it, there
worry,
was
Lord.
like there was one lady. But even so, I like that there's a very clear metal message in the whole thing too. A lot of it, like there's sort of or and even what I said to you, it sounds like if you were to try to make up what it is, it's emo metal wave because the vocals are like dramatic, like melancholic, like everything fucking sucks, because that's the concept of the record.
Because it does.
Is like dark all fucking day. It's like, all right, now you have my interest. Now this is a record concept I can get behind. Dark all day. So well, and then that lends it to the other thing, right? That's that then so I was thinking my way through like the vocals, the instrumentation, and then like the style of it. But then like the concept then started to appeal to me because I was like, I always get depressed as fuck in the winter. Just want to die. So the dark all day thing, thinking about this record, I was like, man, if there's a record I could write the fucking everything sucks record like over the winter. I could sit in here.
It's gotta be in the winter though.
And I could just be like like making shit like that. And I like the brooding quality of it. I like that it addresses like it's not all like it's just the other side of it. It's the other side of electronica. Like it's a dark concept where you got fucking baby pull me closer in the backseat of your Rover. He's just got fucking it's dark all day. The fucking sky is falling and everything fucking sucks. And I'll see you on the other side. And it's like, yeah, I totally like this. And like, it got me thinking about like concept records in general and shit like that. And that's where a record like really makes me think about like things in a different way. That's when I know you fucking got something cool there. Because I could just listen to records and just be like, this is a thing that I've heard before.
That's music.
This is clearly music. But me on the way home being like, oh God, I could probably go home and get that fucking get the Jupiter plugin going, and I get the Jupiter plugin going and get like a super fucking sick like monophonic sub bass synth going and just get all those 80s patches.
Get disillusioned for a couple minutes and then leave it alone and never touch it again.
Now here's the thing. I almost thought that sort of life imitated art in that sense to a certain degree, because I sort of thought about if the process of making music was that you can never, or in my case, that you can never work hard enough or get your attention enough or learn enough theory to sort of get something constructed, is there a way that you could create music that doesn't really have the elements of like, and I mean, in some ways, industrial kind of comes to mind when I think about music like that doesn't particularly have the standard way of doing things. Like it doesn't have a clearly defined set of theories.
Getter tweeted something very philosophical. Yeah, something about music doesn't have to have rules.
Well, that's the thing, is that I think a lot of times when people are starting to do things like this, you get tied up in the idea that if you've heard something and you want it to sound like that because you really like the sound of it. And I could come back here, and if I had any inclination of what it is that I wanted to do, I could sit down and try to make a Gunship record, but that's really not what I want to do. I want to sit down and make a whatever record, whatever styles that I like, or instruments that I like that I want to go into it, whatever feeling I want to have. And does it have to have a chorus? I don't know. Zoo doesn't do a lot of choruses. He just has these big, weird, driving, like super scary songs like that are just
Here you go.
super linear.
Always remember that music doesn't always have to make sense or follow any rules.
That's as clear as day. What I think is my biggest hangup in the process of creating music, other than the technical ramifications of it. Because what it almost always feels like is that if you're going to be a producer, right? Like the difference between a producer and a musician is pretty vast now. If you're going to be a producer and you're going to try to produce music to a certain capacity, you have to be a technically minded person. You're not, whether you're going in the analog direction where you plug it in and sounds come out, or you're going in the completely digital direction where you have to like install 1,500 dependencies and understand what VST and DAW and VSTI and all of these things are, and have a mind to do that by yourself. Either way, there's a barrier for you to create. Always. There's always going to be, other than, and this is the only example where it doesn't apply, is a punk band. A punk band doesn't have a barrier to create something. You can plug a guitar into an amp, doesn't matter how shitty. If you understand 4 chords, you can start to create something. There's the most simplistic music out there is constructed of that same idea. Baby, Pull Me Closer in the Backseat of Your Rover is fucking the same thing as fucking Blitzkrieg, but like those are that's the same ideas. But then here's where the problem lies. If the kind of music that you enjoy in your life that you're aspiring to create or whatever is not, you're gonna have a bad time no matter what. If you're a person who doesn't have 12 hours a day to fucking dedicate to the pursuit of something like this, you're not going to create anything in a reasonable amount of time because life gets in your way. And even if you were driven to do it like 4 hours a night, that's not, you're gonna spend,
you can't put time on art.
Well, you can't, but at the same time,
you can't
you're
just
also
be like, all right, I got 4 hours, and all right, I'm gonna start now, art, and then I gotta stop.
Right, but the thing is that most of the time the stopping doesn't have it. It usually doesn't have to do with you putting a timer on it. It has to do with life. It has to do with, gotta go to my parents' house.
Artificial timer.
Fuck, I gotta go pick up. Like, things just happen to you. The difficulty is always that I'll see somebody on YouTube like, I told you about that guy, Look Mom No Computer, the guy that does like all of like he's literally like, I feel like he's a crazy person. He does all of the insane I can't say the word of it, where you take a toy or a
circuit bending.
He does a shitload of circuit bending, and he's also like an audio engineer and like he's an engineer, but he deals in audio like a lot. Electrical engineer, mechanical, all these different things. He's an incredibly intelligent dude. He's super eccentric, and he fucking just hoards electronic equipment. He's all about like turbo analog, like down to the waveform, crafting physical waveforms, oscilloscopes, and all of that stuff. I watch these things and I wonder, like, I have all of these amazing tools at my disposal, right? At some point, I'm going to sit down and I'll try to do something. If I immediately can't figure out how to get to the next thing and I go to YouTube and I look it up, I'm going to immediately start going downhill in interest. Like, I'll get to the point where I go to YouTube and be like, how do I create secondary patterns in Machine and then have it so that what's the key binding for me to select the patterns? So the like performance mode, like where I'm almost like in Machine using it like Ableton, like where I'm like, I've created like all these patterns or whatever. I want to start adding to them. What buttons do I press? I'll go in there and look at that and I'll be like, ugh, that's what I gotta do. I just want to make music for God's sake. It just has to happen. But that's a delusion. Again, there's a barrier.
Yeah.
And everybody gets past the barrier.
Once you learn that, then you never have to look it up again, and then you can just make music.
Well, that's exactly the point. Is that if
just like I can't pick up a guitar and be like, oh, I just want to play Wonderwall. You got to learn the chords.
Right. And
you got to learn how to use the tool.
Yes.
To get to the finish line, and if you don't want to learn how to use the tool, then either find something else or just don't make music, because everything's got a barrier. It's just you just assume that a guitar doesn't have a barrier anymore because you already passed the barrier a long time ago. And now you're trying to teach yourself something new and wondering why you can't pick it up as easy as you just picking up your guitar and strumming out a couple chords. Well, obviously you've been playing guitar for fucking ever, so it's nothing to you, whereas this is completely different.
That's absolutely what it is. And I think that
so you have basically two barriers to get over. The idea that you have a barrier to entry, and then that barrier to entry.
Yeah, and it's overwhelming. I think ultimately
it's not overwhelming if you start at where you're supposed to start, instead of trying to do higher level things and wondering why you can't accomplish these higher level things as well. You don't know the basics.
Yes. That's where I think that a lot of times people, and including myself, misinterpret the concept of this piece of software or machine, right? Like the machine itself as a production workstation is itself an instrument, right? It's an interface. It's a way for you to communicate with something that creates sounds.
You can also look at it as a keyboard that only controls a certain program on your computer.
Easily.
I'm talking about a keyboard, mouse and keyboard. It's an interaction to your computer. Everything.
It's relearning. It's like using like a Wacom tablet, or it's like using something that has like one level of abstraction behind it.
Yes.
I can use Photoshop, Illustrator, fucking Premiere like the back of my hand. Like I understand it. It's a very familiar thing to me. This is the last thing to me in my mind where I've gotten through playing guitar and understanding, relatively the notes on a keyboard, getting through these very basic concepts. And then in the graphic design world, I've started with Photoshop 7 and I sort of started to understand the concepts behind it and worked for 10 years to
here's the analog. You could draw on a piece of paper, right? But drawing something in Illustrator requires you to do it's a completely different way to do it, but it's still basically the same outcome. You're still getting your drawing. You could play a keyboard, but making that same music into the machine program is going to be like the same analog. You see the analog I'm trying to make here?
Yes, absolutely. So like the visual medium is the visual medium, and
because
the auditory medium is the auditory medium.
Yeah. What I'm saying is like, it's harder for your brain to wrap around the idea that it's not making the music, because you know how to make the like I can make this music, so why can't I make the music? It's weird because you like it's a matter of expression almost, in a sense. Like you sort of end up with this concept in your mind of something that you'd want to make. It's very abstract. Usually in my mind, like I'll think about something. I don't really think in melodies. Usually, I'll sit down and I'll start to think in rhythm. Like I'll start to think, sort of laying things down very simply, or working in the step sequencer or whatever, and I'll sort of do like a rhythm or whatever, and then I build on top of that. That's not how normally that works. If I were to sit down on a guitar and try to write a song,
I would figure out the chords that I want to use and maybe a couple of riffs that might go in there or whatever and try to write it that way. And that's
Yeah,
what I
but
used to do in high school.
it is a rhythm though. Like you're
Oh, right.
strumming
Oh,
out in a
absolutely.
rhythm.
No question about it. You have to still think about all of those components in one way. And you go through it, and admittedly, when a singer-songwriter sits down on a guitar, strums out some chords and writes down some lyrics, that is a fundamentally easier process. It doesn't mean necessarily though that the average layman could do it, but for the guy that like understands a couple things, it would be easier for me to sit down on my couch and come up with Spaceship by Puddle of Mud. Like
Yeah, but that I mean also
the
that's
guy
not
that's just like
that, that's not the end of the
no.
song
And
though.
that's what it is like what you're doing is you could be the guy that wants to go be in a band and you can play the guitar and you can understand that and then go and play in a group and be in a band. But then you're the guy also. It is a much more richly complicated endeavor to sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to be like Andrew WK at this point. I'm going to try to understand music theory in a sense, and then apply that to play every single instrument in a production capacity. So it's like, okay, I got to do the drums, so I'll figure out the drums, whatever those are, and then I got to figure out the bass, and then I got to figure out the melody, and then I got to figure out the lead, and then I got to do some atmospheric stuff, and then I got to apply some effects to it. Things could get overcomplicated, fucking undercomplicated. Looks like something like sometimes I laud the fucking simplicity of shit, like Sylvanesso or Sophie Tucker, like people who are making like dance music with like little rhythm machines, or like somebody like Grimes, like somebody who's doing things that are deceptively simple. And then of course on the flip side of that, you have the Skrillexes and the Diplos and the Getters and like those guys of the world that are doing the like sort of like the fuck a genre thing where they're creating this incredibly complex music with styles wrapped in. That's so alien to me to think about. The song that's like a super simple like little like thing. A good example is kind of like LCD Sound System. When you listen to an LCD Sound System song,
Mm-hmm.
their songs are like very linear and they kind of just go. Like, and all they're doing is like sequencing, and they're just creating like, and they build it. Their music sounds like it's stepped, like everything builds on this central concept. Sylvanesso is the same way. Like that all sounds very simple to me, in the same way that punk does, or in the same way that like blues does. There's only like fucking 5 ways to play blues, but people keep making different kinds of blues. Like, Mississippi Delta, it's all about the style at that point. You only have a certain fucking set of notes that you can do. So, what are you going to do with them? Are you going to combine together a bunch of different styles? Are you going to create like modes? Are you going to do fucking scales? Or what are you going to set up? And then that's really a representation of how my mind works. And then I just lay on the couch.
Just watch YouTube.
Yep. Lay on the couch and watch YouTube. Write about what you know, Dylan. That's really the bottom line. My next record is going to be like, it's going to be like miserable, and it's going to be like, it's going to be super angry, and it's going to be a little abstract. That's what it could be. That's what the concept is. Because if that's what you're being informed with, basically. But anyway, sadly, I do have to wrap it up. But we didn't get to our flagship segment. But to quickly comment on it, started playing the Messenger. And I have been playing Overwatch quite a bit, and looking forward to Junkenstein, rolling on that tonight. And I've been playing a little bit more of Pool Panic every once in a while. And I just put a new SSD in, and
The
so I'm
speed
getting all the
round.
games back on that. So shit is going way faster on that. And What else? I built my Game Boy, and I've been playing some old shit on Game Boy. I've been playing Pokemon Yellow. Every so often, just fucking grabbing that off my desk and just fucking buzzing on some Pokemon and some Super Mario Brothers 3, and
Cool.
that's it for me.
Cool.
And for yourself?
Well, I've been playing Spider-Man. It's like 68% done with it, but at the same time, I'm trying to do everything. So I'm like,
Valiant effort.
en route to the platinum.
Okay.
Forza Horizon 4. I touched that for a little while because I got the Game Pass, so I had it basically, well, not for free, but because I paid for the Game Pass. I'm playing that on the old PC. It looks real pretty. The season stuff is pretty cool. The cars are fun to drive because they go fast, vroom vroom, but also they turn better than a regular Forza game, and I like that. But it's still a little tough on the turns. And it's fun to drive Porsches around, and also STIs are fun to drive around. Not to have, no one likes that. Okay. I played the messenger. I got to the one part. I don't know how far you are at this point.
I'm not far at all. I only just played a little bit of it.
It did the thing as it's referred to in the game. And if you saw, have you seen the trailer?
No.
Okay, so never mind then.
All right, don't spoil
I kind of
that.
don't want to spoil that for you, but it did the thing. Like that's literally how it's referred to in the game too. So
it did a thing.
You'll see that.
Okay, cool.
Cool 666 sick. Just installed Call of Duty Blops 4. I'll have more on that later. It seems like more Call of Duty, so got that going for me. Yeah, sick. Destiny 2, playing the Forsaken DLC. I finally got to the Dreaming City. Took a little while, but that's really fun. You know, it's fun to just go around and shoot things in Destiny. You know, the best shooting.
That's
in
the
game.
concept.
The best shooting in the game, Destiny 2.
Yep.
We're gonna do the Extra Life thing again in a couple weeks.
We're gonna have to plan a little bit of that. I got one wrench in the gear, but I don't think it'll be a big wrench.
What was the wrench?
My buddy Steve is coming from Chicago for a wedding that weekend, and he'll be here. But I should be able to still figure it out. We'll have to time when I go down there and what I do and how I work it all out. So we'll figure it out.
Okay, well, we'll see. We also don't have to do it on that weekend, so.
Well, yeah, but I mean, last year we were like, oh, we wish we could have done it on the weekend where everybody was doing it, but, you know, we might be able to get a little bit more hype on it if we do it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We got a couple weeks at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll plan accordingly. So hopefully that'll be a fucking riot. It was last year, and I think if we just plan a little bit more, it'll be even more fucking crazy.
Yeah, as I figure, if we schedule out games, and also I was thinking of, you know, like doing, like making a song. So like,
I was thinking of some incentive-based stuff too. Things that we would have to do if somebody did an incentive, kind of similar to what last year was.
Yeah. So I was thinking of, you know, trying to make a song, me and you. So like one of us be playing a game, you know, working on a song like for a couple hours or something. I mean, if we're cooped up for 24 hours, I think we can.
We got tons of time.
Spit something out, even if it's terrible. I got plenty of instruments in my room, so I have to get like all the audio stuff set up to where we can get the audio running through the system, and also we can monitor and shit. So.
All right, dude.
Should be able to do that easily.
Cool. All right. I gotta go run a very important errand. So for this week, the audio versions of this podcast are available down below. And that has been the Jack It Off Podcast, episode 40, Midlife Crisis Edition, Ball and Chain Edition. I am out.
Bye.
Bye.